I didn't come to more the one for social justice in my work until a little bit later, especially as a photojournalist. I was like, oh, at some point I wanted to change the world, right? And I thought that photojournalism was the way to do it. And I spent a number of years trying to work towards that aim.
I came into photography initially from doing a lot of social action work in college and in my years after that. And I really perceived then that photography could be used as a tool for social change.
We had to choose one image and I couldn't. So I've been photographing my sister for many years. The other photograph was more in the vein of social documentary. Those are both where I spend my time.
My entry point into photography was like this meandering river that has rapids and still calm points. And just, when I was a kid, I started skateboarding, I think when I was 12. Somehow I ended up becoming kind of the guy that took all our friends' photographs.
Can we talk a little bit about the kind of the possible tension between I can go anywhere and make pictures anywhere, and this question about, when is it okay to make pictures, or what's the responsibility of the picture maker?
I had a little bit of a breakup with photojournalism because I kind of, for a long time, I believed it was a tool to affect change and blah, blah, blah. But then I kind of found the problem I came across was I was using, to quote Audre Lorde, use the master's tool will never dismantle the master's house. And at some point I realized photography is a tool of the master. The very nature of the medium from its history has always been to project the other. And my problem was how can I use this tool? And the language that I was using, the very tools themselves I was using, all have come from this place of looking at people as the other. And that's when I sort of started to try to figure out how to use photography or photojournalism or documentary or fine art in a way that sort of broke from that.
It does feel different when I'm doing an assignment than working for a nonprofit or doing my own documentary work. But I would say I'm extremely conscious now to form relationships, collaborate when I can. This isn't documentary. That's not really part of photojournalism. There's a limit there.
You said something about, you never thought you'd be a photographer. You thought you'd be doing sort of blue collar manual work. Mm-hmm. Not to interpret that, but it seems like there may need no better training for a photographer than to have lived a life first.
Yeah, I do think that definitely helped, especially in terms of like working as a photojournalist. Backing up a little bit towards I started working to earn money at 12, and then I've always worked since then. In my background as far as the work I did was blue collar work, a very broad range. So there's just so many different experiences that I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to have. And then also coming from a multicultural family that also introduced a whole other facet of life experiences, even down to something as simple as the type of food you eat. I do think I think life experience is definitely beneficial because it allows you to learn to communicate with all different walks of life. And then I think also having different life experiences allows you, at least for me, it allows me to connect to different people on different levels.
We're always outsiders, you know, but, and you moved to Madison County when you're 26, I think you said, and you've been there now, you know, I don't know, I'm not going to say how old you are, but you've been there a long time. At some point, you know, you don't have to apologize for having moved there, but what was it like to sort of begin to understand the place from the ground as opposed to, you know, as a drive-by observer photographer?
You know, when I moved to the county initially, I think I moved there as a, you know, somewhat arrogant young photographer who felt like he could do kind of anything. I think I originally felt like I would move there and stay for 2 or 3 years and do a book about mountain culture. You know, that was my idea. I was going to do a book about mountain culture and move on somewhere else. I think it didn't take me long to understand that mountain communities don't necessarily work on that time frame, and that I was going to really have to learn about the county and absorb the county and become, in a sense, part of the county, I think.